Well, here we are with another episode of We Don't Color on the Dog. This is Communication 101 edition of the podcast. I've been fortunate enough to work with some of amazing people in communications and in journalism. Randall Lane, who was with the Daily Beast, and Tina Brown got me really on a national stage. He's now with Forbes and just doing stuff all around the world. Sina Madison locally with the sheriff's office, with economic development, with community health. She's been on the front line of a lot of touchy situations. And then the other one is my former intern, who's now chief of staff for the Lincoln Project, who has had her share of dust ups and blow ups to deal
Yes,
with. It's Ryan Wiggins. Ryan, thank you for doing this.
absolutely. Thanks for having me, Rick.
It is. I wanted to get you on because I think that I really feel that in today's era of social media and that everyone thinks they're an expert on communications, and it's everything goes fine until it doesn't. And we're coming off of a very popular mayor who's had very good first 2 years, but he's coming off a week of the curbside recycling debacle, an immediate termination or resignation of a police chief, a very hectic town hall over in the Fricker Center where the black community feels like if you fix something up, the white people are going to take it away from us. And then this latest over the last weekend or so with parking tickets in East Hill. It seems to be an equal opportunity pissing off people. Uh, you know, let's just talk about the basics of when things sort of get all, none of this could be major, maybe, I think some of it still is, but, one or two. But when you have a series, what's your recommendation, having seen some of these kind of situations happen before?
Well, I'm going to say a couple of things before I start.
All right. All
So,
right.
first of all, I'm going to say that I think that the mayor has done a pretty good job. And I didn't have a whole
Great.
lot of faith because I'm not a big Quint fan, but I've been pretty impressed with D.C. Reeves. The other thing I'm going to say is thank God that these are Pensacola's issues, that they could be so much worse. And the fact that, we're dealing with parking and trash cans and such is, we're kind of blessed in that. Now, to talk crisis communications, one of the things that I think that DC has done very, very well, and I've reached out to him and I've told him he's done this very well. I think it is great that he responds to constituents on social media. I think that is the way social media should be used. I think it is more of a hands-on governing style. I think it is a good look for politicians. I think it is a good look for anyone. Get out there, and you don't have to worry about things getting misconstrued or misinterpreted when you are the one who is out there saying, "No, this is what it's going to be," and you're the boss guy. That's great. The problem comes when you have you have elected officials who forget that they work for the people, that the people are their boss. They are not the boss of the people. And I think that sometimes, and I mean, you see this all the way up to the White House right now, right? Like anytime there's a crisis, they look for someone to blame, or they get really stressed and overwhelmed and they react in that stress and overwhelm. And I think that is what we have seen the mayor do in the past couple weeks. Is there has been a lot going on. Some of it has not gone well, and he has not necessarily handled it like maybe he should have. And I mean, like I said, a lot of this probably has to do with stress. His communications team should never, ever, under any circumstance, make him handle these issues publicly. His comms team, that is their job. Their job is to handle crisis communications. Their job is to advise him when to go on social media and have these conversations and when not to, and what the messaging should be. And I think that his comms team really has failed him. I think that some staff in the city has maybe failed him. The way that this rollout on the recycling and trash pickup, I don't think it was great. And I think that sometimes in the city and in any government, you start coming up with ideas on how to make things better. But one of the things that's really important is that you get the input of the community. So the community was liking twice a week trash pickup, and they did want recycling, and recycling was offered for $8 extra a month or whatever it was. But you cut a service for the rest of us who didn't want to pay for that $8. So give us a chance, give us an opportunity to say, okay, what does the city want? Okay, you want recycling? We're going to pay you got to pay $8 a month for recycling. You want a second day pickup? You got to pay for a second day pickup. That's not 2 trash cans, because I am one of those families that has 2 trash cans. I have little boys, and we all know how gross that is. But the thing is like, you just end up with a pile of trash in your driveway waiting for a week. And it smells to high heavens, especially in the summer. And that is why people are upset. So give people the option. And when you screw up, you got to own it. You got to say, you know what? This did not go out the way we intended it to be. This was supposed to be a positive thing. Pensacola has wanted recycling forever. We did not mean for it to go this way. We are looking for more community input. We want to hear from you. And I think that makes people really happy. When they feel like they have a say, they're a lot happier. When they feel like they're heard, they're a lot happier in it. And I mean, the stuff with the chief of police, that was a terrible, terrible look. Here you have a Black chief of police, first time in a while in Pensacola, and you force a resignation without any information to the people of what is going on. And I mean, I think, and I am not going to speculate, I'm a big, 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 big fan of PPD. I've got a lot of friends from high school that are on PPD. They have always taken great care of me. But when there is a national kind of perception that law enforcement is against people of color right now, between ICE and the ICE raids, and between, we've seen riots and streets, and we've seen police brutality. That is not necessarily Pensacola, but this is a mental thing that's going on throughout the entire country right now. I think you have to be a lot more sensitive to that. And so if you are going to force the resignation of your Black police chief, you need to have a joint press conference and talk about what is happening and why this is happening. So it doesn't, because when you first see that a police chief is resigning out of nowhere, and you don't get a whole lot of information, the very first thought that came to my mind was, well, I know that ICE is being pushed on law enforcement throughout the state. Maybe he just didn't want to be a part of that. Well, that's not what happened. But that's the speculation, and that's how rumors get started, and that's how you have... Yeah. So then you have to clean up a mess that was never your mess to begin with, just because you didn't address it the right way on the front end. And again, I am not blaming our mayor for this. I am blaming his comms team for this, and his chief of staff for this, because that is the role. The role is to protect the mayor, and the role, if you are staff or any executive, is to protect that, to protect the city, to do the best you can to leave everyone in a positive light. And I think his comms team and his chief of staff in the past couple of weeks have really let him down by launching things that were not fully baked, and by letting him show his frustration to the general public. Whether you are using your official account or you are using your personal account, you are always the mayor of Pensacola. Just like I can never escape. I am always the chief of staff to Lincoln. If I am out and I am just completely housed on a Saturday night downtown Pensacola, I am still the chief of staff of Lincoln Project. And that's the same thing with the mayor.
Well, one of the things, and I've talked to the mayor about it, and you and I've talked about it before. When you've got a politician, an elected official that's very good on camera, there's a tendency, there's some laziness that can happen in a calm situation, because, well, we'll just throw the mayor out. We see the same thing with Chip Simmons as sheriff. You just throw Chip out, he'll fix it. He can handle it. And it works to a certain extent, except when it gets hairy, when it gets gets a little bit, the pressure's on, or these things do need to be thought out, that you have to think, okay, this is going to be the issue and you need to get ahead of it. Where are the pitfalls? I mean, you worked with Bill McCollum. Talk about any kind of situations that you had to do with Bill.
Oh God, I had this one with this local blogger at the time. He was such an ass, Rick.
Another story.
Another story. Okay.
Yeah, the BP oil spill. Yeah, I know. I remember.
Yeah. No,
this pregnant communication person got angry and yelled at me.
You don't piss off a pregnant woman in the summer in Pensacola, Rick. That was just dumb.
Agreed.
Anyway, but one of the things that he did, one of the things that there was. It was right when I had started with him. He had released a bunch of ads that were attorney general type ads, but he used his political consultant to do it, and he was about to run for governor. And so, and the money for those ads came from the attorney general's office. So it was a little hairy in that. And the way, we had to handle it. And you handle it by addressing things up front. I'm a big transparency person. Unfortunately, that was beat into me by being in comms in the state where there is a full transparency and sunshine laws and all of that. So I'm a big big believer in full transparency up front. If you tell your story first, no one else can tell your story. If you own what is going on, no one else can slam you for it. So you start by owning what is going on. Okay, this rollout on trash did not go well. We are going back to the drawing board. In the meantime, we're going to keep this schedule. We're going to go back to the drawing board and figure out what we can do that's going to make the people of Pensacola happier. Where's anyone going to get mad about that? It's like, okay, we messed it up. You owned it. What am I going to say? Well, yeah, you did mess it up. Like, yeah, you admitted
You own it
So,
quick. You own it quick, though. You don't wait for a whole week and then wait for a press conference. You need to go ahead and address
get in it, and you
Right.
immediately you own the story. That's number one. And then, I mean, I think also that once you've owned that story, you need to explain the why. I'm a big why person. I think why is the most important question that's asked, because if you understand why this mindset was happening, then you understand why they made the decision they made. So if I'm looking at this trash situation, for example, I'm saying, okay, we don't have enough trucks maybe to run recycling and trash twice a week. So recycling is going to take the trucks on Fridays or Mondays or whenever, and the trash is going to take them on Fridays. And then we say, okay, well, that doesn't work for me. Like that still doesn't work for me. Well, then we may have to raise the cost of trash pickup so that you can get your trash can picked up twice a week. Or we are going to offer you a second day pickup for the $8 that we are charging for this. You find solutions, but you have to explain why you made that decision to begin with, for people to start understanding and for them to be where they can follow your methodology. And I think that those are two areas right now that really have not been handled well. And again, I don't blame the mayor for that. The mayor is the mayor. He is not a comms person. He is not supposed to be doing crisis communications. That's not his gig. His gig is to run the city. So his comms team is letting him down right now. His chief of staff, who's letting him go on social media and show that he is very angry and bait neighbors in my neighborhood, it's not a good look. It's not a good look, whether you agree with what he's saying or not. I personally don't think you should be able to park RVs or anything that would be considered a recreational vehicle on the road for multiple days. I don't want people camping on my street. I don't want cousin Eddie next door to me. I understand the mindset on this. But if that is someone's actual car and that is the only car they have, and we don't have driveways. We don't have garages. We are an old post-World War II neighborhood. And so, I mean, you have to come up with solutions that work for everybody. You have to explain why you're doing the things you're doing. And you can't get short with people when they are frustrated with their government. They're allowed to be frustrated with their government. It's an expectation of democracy that you are allowed to speak to power. And so power needs to understand that they work for the people.
Well, I think the other thing that I'm seeing more too, Ryan, is that realizing that people get their news a variety of ways, that the idea of just mailing a postcard or mailing a mailer may or may not get open. They may or may not read your Facebook page. They may, they're going to go through a variety of media, and you're going to have to tap them as many ways as you can and do it repeatedly to get it. If it's a big change, it needs to be done repeatedly.
7 hits is what the rule is. You don't remember something until you have been exposed to it 7 different times in 7 different ways. So this, and previous mayors, when we've had trash stuff, it's been all over WEAR. It's been all over your paper. It's been all over the News Journal. It's been on 1620. It's been on, anywhere that there is media in Pensacola, that's where it's been, because you're right. And I mean, you look at the overlays and the stuff, because this was also a thing in East Hill not too long ago. I was real involved in it. But when when you're saying, well, we sent you an email and we called it, whatever, and they don't know, and people don't know what that word is, you're not helping. And so, yeah, there's a lot of frustration here. You've got to reach people where they are when they're there. I mean, I think 5 o'clock news, 6 o'clock news, 10 o'clock news, you're going to get a lot of people. Newspapers on Sundays and on Thursdays, when your paper comes out, you're going to get a lot of information. So you've got to use that. You've got to utilize that. And you can't just lean on social media. It is what comms people like to do right now. It is the easiest path. I put it out there. It's out in the public domain. But like, my parents aren't on social media. Like my generation is, but not on all of it. I mean, I'm pretty active on Facebook, but not at all on Instagram, and sometimes on X when I feel like it. I mean, it's just, you don't ever know. So you've got to hit people where they are, and you've got to hit them at least 7 times with information for them to absorb it.
Well, and you got to be willing to put some money behind it. I mean,
Yes.
you're going to have to, it needs to be, you're going to, if it's a big message, it should be part of the budget to be able to spend the money to do it, because you've got to, then you can control it that much more.
That's right.
But I think it's been an interesting way to look at this. I think it's none of this is, like you said in the very beginning, these are really kind of small issues. Some of them, when
Some of them
you
aren't.
upset people in a neighborhood, you need to be on top of it. But I really appreciate you coming on today.
Of course, I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, we'll do it again. How's Jonathan's campaign coming?
It's going great.
Good.
He cannot wait to be the senator from Northwest Florida. He's very excited about that. I hear he's going to be running against Salzman and Frank White, which is a weird combo, but here we go.
And he's got the Birkenstocks. He's ready to go.
He's got it. He's going to burn through some of that shoe leather.
Take care.
Ah, I screamed about that.